Today, we are coming together with a very, very esteemed panel to ask, does size matter? Is it right to keep growing? And how do we resist the next big step? Will we be able to sustain it? Or will we all self-destruct in a spiral of ambition?
Where does it go? Until where can we go in that expansion? How much artists can sustain this development of production?
If you have very limited resources, including space, then you have to think incredibly laterally all the time about how to use every square millimetre. That is one of the reasons that we have a new wing every year, which is our annual architecture commission, our pavilion. And on the other hand, we're doubling our size because next year we're opening a new building, which is 5 minutes from the Serpentine, just over the bridge. But even when we do that, we're tiny. And at a certain point, I just embrace smallness. And we have to think how we can use the scale that we have to make what we do particular to us.
One of the things I hope happens out of the expansion of Tate Modern is the ability to do smaller things, actually, more intimate exhibitions, more intimate displays. Our architecture doesn't particularly enable that at the moment. Generally, temporary exhibitions, for instance, at the Tate tend to be 14 rooms, large. They're wonderful, and I've enjoyed working on them, but many of the curators would really love to do a focused, historic lone show that's 3 or 4 galleries, and that's one of the opportunities of the new building.
Could you explain us why this need all of a sudden to make Frieze plus Frieze Master?
We began to realize that there was another world that was running in parallel, and perhaps this was something we should look at, even though our expertise was contemporary art, our specialization. Maybe if we could bring a contemporary view to this material, we could inject some additional value. But hopefully we can bring a fresh perspective, and we can turn this week, which I think the press over the years have come to refer to as Frieze Week, perhaps it can be a week in London which is relevant not just to the contemporary art world, but perhaps to the whole art world.
The old rules and departments that everyone sort of production, commerce, distribution, critic, and then, if you like, the stamp of approval given by a museum, they no longer are relevant in today's society. One of the reasons that the gallery that I work for has been successful in putting on exhibitions that you would term to be of museum quality is because we have the access and we can self-fund. There are good commercial reasons for doing those exhibitions.
So everybody is facing the question, how can I expand when we all know, especially in institution, it's difficult to have money to produce our program, produce our vision.
We've changed the way in which we fund acquisitions. The money we get from the government hasn't really changed much over the years, but there are many other ways now that we fundraise for new acquisitions. The Outset Fund is one of those, and we've managed to acquire amazing works over 10 years through the Frieze Fair and Outset. But all of the curators at Tate Modern are also assigned to region-specific collecting groups that have allowed us to, in the last 10 years, begin to acquire work from Africa, Latin America, now Russia and Eastern Europe. It really has enabled us to expand the collection internationally during this time, as you say, of recession.
It's a sort of group endeavour to try and come up with interesting, relevant and new ways to attract support. And support ranges from audiences, of course, which are incredibly important. So we get up to 1.2 million people every year. But also support in terms of building around us friends and family who understand what we're trying to do and wish to support it. I was fascinated to meet somebody a couple of weeks ago who runs a small publishing house, and he was funding not all his books, but some of his books through crowdsourcing. The age that we live in requires different solutions, but it also, the age we live in is so exciting, it also requires new ambitions.
We've seen a big change in the last 5 or 6 years as artists have started to push back. I think there was a point in time when Frieze would come around and every artist within the gallery program would be vying and saying, I need a piece in the fair. And that perhaps now isn't the same place. And that's a good thing because everyone does need to step back. Everyone does need to be careful. Quality is the only important thing. And otherwise it's just like a production machine.
The galleries have to become more creative, smarter, about also presenting ourselves in a different way and coming up with identities within the art fairs as we have within our galleries.
This existence of overproduction, that we are all participating, whatever we say, whatever we do, there is this risk of being overseen. And we know that we are an art scene that overseen often is not so good because people are tired very fast. And nowadays, people are tired faster than ever.
I disagree when you say that we are in a position of overproduction. The art world is an unregulated but truly economic device. If there's overproduction, there's no money, and if there's no money, there's no production.
The challenge is, which Gagosian has shown so well, and indeed everybody on this panel, is to win territory and not lose concentration.
Exactly.
And that is, of course,
it's equality.
Yeah.
Going back to the statement, perhaps it's not the size, it's what you do with it.
Of course. That's clear.
May I just say a big thank you to a truly celebratory panel. I think we all had an amazingly interesting time listening to all of you on the subject of Does Size Matter? On this occasion, I also would like to really thank Le Meridien for having helped Outset to grow through instituting the Outset Le Meridien talk series. I think it has helped us a tremendous lot. And I think the partnership with Le Meridien is truly and goes really far beyond the call of sponsorship.